Show, mate, yeah.
Do you like that crossover intro there? For anyone who hasn't listened to Mailbag, that's the intro to Mailbag every bloody week. Anyway, 2 wins and 2 for the Toffees so far. Both wins have been greeted by different reactions, weirdly. Are you looking forward to watching weekend Everton turning out again, Matt?
100%, mate, yeah. Really looking forward to it. It's going to be the first time we see Rodriguez at Goodison, which is going to be nice. Obviously, Alan and Decore were there on Wednesday, but didn't get on the pitch. But yeah, I'm excited for. I mean, it's been so long since we won a game with a top 6 side that everyone's naturally excited for it. But I suppose the important thing is that you follow it up now, and you know, West Brom probably going to be one of the worst couple of teams in the league this season, so it's absolutely imperative they win. But you know, I don't know, I just feel like I've got a bit more trust in these players and this manager, maybe, than we've had in recent years. So, with that in mind, I'm feeling good, mate. Feeling excited to see what they can do, yeah.
Yeah, me too. I think what Wednesday night did, although it was a pretty routine win in the end, it sort of made us realise how pedestrian that sort of... Well, we've basically got a cup team now, haven't we? We've got a league, like a big club now. We've got a league team and a cup team we play midweek. And I think that kind of reminds us a little bit how pedestrian it all got with the midfield and things like that, even though it was only against Salford. So, yeah, a lot of optimism going in tomorrow. I'll listen to the pre-match preview with Dan, the West Brom fan this week. And he basically admitted, didn't he, that they went up a bit too soon. It was a big surprise to everyone. So they could be this season's whipping boys. But as you said to him, they're a more expansive team than they ever were under Pulis. So if anyone's expecting that sort of war of attrition that we used to get when we played West Brom, it's going to be a very different game, this, isn't it? They got some good attacking players as well.
Yeah, I think it was interesting what he said about... So 2 seasons ago, they had Dwight Gale and Jay Rodriguez, and they both scored, like, I think it was 52 goals between them.
Between them, yeah.
And they didn't go up that season. And last season, I think the top scorer was like 12. And he went up last year. So I think it shows that they're more of an outfit as opposed to just relying on those journeyman strikers that have knocked on the Championship for years to get them up. And that's obviously been a good thing. I think there's a lot of lads last year who chipped in with goals for them that, you know, it's good for them. But they haven't really made any stellar signings, have they, apart from the 2 lads that they had on loan last year, you know, which, you know, I'm sure their supporters will be absolutely made up with in that sense, because they are young players, they're exciting players, that, you know, the flashy wingers, aren't they, that I think everyone likes to see. But yeah, I think that they're lacking a natural finisher, they're lacking a focal point probably at the top end of the pitch. And I think it was dead interesting for me that Bilic just decided to go 3 at the back last week against Leicester, despite
the first time.
Yeah, despite having never played that system before. And maybe that's just an indication, I don't know, a bit of panic maybe, all of a sudden, that you're at this level. And while, you know, he has faith in the system that worked last year and the players that worked last year for them in the Championship, doing that to me just indicates a little bit that maybe he doesn't have the same sort of faith in them at this level, if that makes sense. And he felt like he had to do something a bit mad with the system. So, I mean, we'll wait and see on that. I don't think it's going to be quite as easy as a lot of people are expecting. You know, got a few mad predictions, haven't we? Coming up a bit later on.
Yeah, look, we'll see.
So some people think we're going to just sashay past them, but I think Everton will be too strong for them. I think, but you know, it's one of them where you'd like to think we'll be able to keep a clean sheet, and then with the attacking quality we've got on the pitch, we should win it.
Yeah, it's not, as you say, it's not a game we can take for granted. And you do kind of think, though, with Bilic changing it last week, he's obviously nervous of playing Premier League teams. I think again, on the pre-match, Dan said when they go 1-0 down, they can't sort of let that affect them. You've got to get back into the game, which they didn't against Leicester. So if he's already mindful, thinking like, well, I'm just going to do a damage limitation here, play 5 at the back, just keep it tight, that will very much play into our hands, I think, because the thing that's always troubled us in the past, I mean, this is a different team now, but the thing that's always troubled us in the past is when teams turn up and sit back and it's like, go on then, attack us. So if they play a bit more expansive, that plays into our hands a bit. If they sit back, I think we've got the players to sort of get through that defensive line this time.
Yeah, well, I think I sort of said this on the preview as well, that it felt to me watching them against Leicester last week that they sort of got caught between that we're going to sit back and just defend and try and make it hard for you and frustrate you, and being a more expansive side. And they didn't really do either in the end. Like, they didn't really create many chances, and they didn't really stop Leicester from from creating chances themselves either. So they got a bit twixt in between. So I don't know. Obviously, they brought in Ivanovic, haven't they?
Yes.
You know, if you're going to play a back three, you know, he feels like someone you need to just protect. You know, you'd imagine he'd be the fella that you play in the middle of a back three and just say, you've got two lads either side of you, tight in, two midfielders in front of you, just head and kick everything away.
Yeah, including the players.
Yeah, and you know, he's not someone that would obviously he's linked with us, wasn't he? He's not someone that wouldn't necessarily wanted us to side at all, really. But I imagine he'll be probably a decent acquisition for them if they carry on playing that way. But yeah, I think the main threats are the wide men for them, aren't they? You know, Pereira's the one who cuts in if he got his left foot from the right. Dean Garner cuts in his right foot from the left. And they are really tricky and really capable. And if the ball breaks down and they can hit it in transition and get those lads in space, then they'll cause problems for anyone because they're good players. But Everton should be too strong in midfield. Back off front three to really give theirs problems and ultimately should have a bit too much. But, you know, anyone watching this as well, let us know your thoughts on this. You think Everton is going to rock up and brush them aside? Do you think that West Brom are going to make it difficult for us? How excited are you? You know, we had a comment before, Les, I think, on Twitter, didn't we? Someone saying, I'm more nervous now in case it all blows up in our face. And that's just Evertonianism all over, isn't it?
It is. You've always got that nagging doubt in the back of your head, haven't you? Thinking, do you know what? We were dead good against Spurs, but it's these sort of games where it's a bit of a gimme that we might bolt it up. Speaking of which, some stats.
Okay.
So I said last week we've played Tottenham and Albion first two games of the season twice in my lifetime. So the Ronald Koeman season, we drew against Tottenham and we beat West Brom 2-1 away. 84-85, we lost 4-1 at home to Tottenham, and then we got beat 2-1 by West Brom as well. That was on the Wednesday night, I think, a midweek. That would have been.
That season ended all right, didn't it?
It did. It went okay. Stats-wise, more things to go wrong for us. Carlo Ancelotti's unbeaten against promoted clubs in the Premier League. He's played 15, won 11, drawn 4.
Interesting. So that's quite a good stat,
that bodes well. And we've only lost one of our last 11 Premier League games against West Brom. Do you remember the game?
Oh, was it the Kev Morales penalty game, or was it?
It was 33 shots on top. 33 shots to Everton, 5 to West Brom.
Didn't that big tree Jonas Olsen score a header? Yeah. That was it, wasn't it? Yeah. He flicked it over at the park end, didn't he? And it went in, and then we just couldn't break them down.
Their one shot on target went in. I think Morales didn't we draw that 1-1 in the end?
I honestly can't remember. It might have been 0-0, maybe. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I think we drew it. Yeah.
Do you know what? The games against West Brom just blend into one endless match for me. Like, because I was trying to find a picture to put up for the preview, and I was thinking, when was the last time we played them? And we drew against them in the Premier League in their last season when they were in 1-1, and Nias scored for us. And
I don't remember that.
I didn't even remember the goal, but I went and looked up. It was a volley at the park end. It was a really good finish, actually. I don't know if you remember it now.
I don't remember it at all. No.
It was like crossed in from the right-hand side. Crossed in from the right-hand side, and he proper belted it, like, up the park end. It was a really good finish. That was at that spell where everyone was like, is this fella actually all right at 40? Is
that when he was single-handedly saving Ronald Koeman's job?
Yeah. Well, no, this was after Koeman had gone.
Oh,
this would have been the Allardyce days.
Of course,
where all those home matches in the second half of that season did just blend into one, didn't they, to be fair?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, I've never been so disinterested in games of football in my life. The one I always go back to was the one we got beat 4-0. I think about 2006 or something like that.
Was that Per Kroldrup, or was that the Villa game when he played?
He played against Villa, didn't he?
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember Nathan Ellington running us ragged.
So some names to conjure with there, aren't there?
Yeah, and they also beat us 4-1 at Goodison, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
That was when they had Di Matteo as manager, and then they brought on that Simon Choi. I remember in the last start, like I think it was 2-0 down, and then I think Beckford scored to get us. I mean, I'm going to look this up after this. If this is right, I'm going to be amazed. we were 2-0 down. Chris Brunt scored a ridiculous free kick at the Gladys Street end. Beckford scored to make it 2-1, and then I think Arteta might got sent off for us, and then he brought that Simon Choi on, and he was basically like Andrei Kanchelskis reincarnate on the wing. He absolutely ran us ragged for about 20 minutes. I don't know if anyone in the comments remembers that, and if that was the case, but just remember him coming on and playing on the left wing and thinking, oh my God, who's this fella they've brought on here? He's amazing.
Kanchelskis for one game only. Other stats as well. West Brom have kept more clean sheets against Everton in the Premier League than anyone else. Eight clean sheets. So we're going to be up against it to score against it tomorrow, potentially. Oh, the cat's just walked in. Yeah, if you can hear that. Yeah, he wants a piece of this. And West Brom have not lost their first away match in any of their last 6 Premier League campaigns. They've won 2 and drawn 4. So the stats aren't really giving anything away here, are they?
No, they're just one of those teams, aren't they? They're just I think the one really memorable game we've had against them in recent years was when we won 3-2 at the Hawthorns, wasn't it? And we were 2-0 down, and Rom scored 2, and Kone scored as well, I think.
Yeah, he did.
It was like a proper great comeback, wasn't it? And that turned out to be Martinez's last season. The cat remembers it, apparently.
He does. He's having bad flashbacks to West Brom games here.
But I always remember that game as well. Ricky Lambert put him on just wide after we'd gone 3-2 up. It was narrowly wide. But do you know what, mate? Despite saying I can't remember any of these games against West Brom, I have got some memory. You start talking about it.
Flooding back now.
It all comes flooding back, yeah.
The one in Koeman season, wasn't that when... Who did he bring off after half an hour? Did he bring McCarthy off after half an hour and put Lukaku on or something like that?
That was in his first season. Was it his first season?
Yeah, I think that was his second game in, because we thought, right, we played this pressing game against Spurs. He's a tactical genius making a sub after half an hour. This is brilliant.
Yeah, who did he bring off?
It was a midfielder, wasn't it? And he put Lukaku on.
Yeah, and I think he put McCarthy at right wing back, or did he bring McCarthy off?
Something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
But he wasn't the genius we thought he was.
We came from behind and won that one, didn't we, as well?
Yeah.
I think Morales scored, and then I remember Gareth Barry scoring right in front of us and celebrating. And in fact, yeah, he brought McCarthy off, he was playing right wing back, and we went to a back 4, and Holgate went to right back. He was playing in a back 3 initially, yeah, But there you go. Maybe we have got more memorable games against West Brom than we think.
There's some decent games in there, actually, hasn't there?
Yeah.
Back 4 for us, just speaking of back 4s, picks itself, doesn't it? We haven't got any options.
I think the whole team does, doesn't it, really, mate? You know, it's one of them where, I did my predicted 11 on the Pitch Sports app before we started. It's like, well, it's going to be dead boring, this, but I sort of know what it's going to be. I think everyone knows what it's going to be. The back 4 sort of picks itself. If we get an injury centre back, who knows what's going to happen then? Will he have Gibson on the bench? Does he think Luca Dean can do a job there? Can John Joe Kenny shift across? Does Alan drop back in and play there? That's the big worry, isn't it, in terms of depth going forward? But yeah, I think probably the part of the team that wasn't spoken about as the most against Spurs after that game at the weekend. But when you think about the way Son and Kane have ran us ragged down the years in that fixture, and particularly Kane, his record, as we said on last week's What's the Score against us, is insanely good, isn't it? The way they marshalled them two, and Lucas and Bergwijn when he came on, Dele Alli, probably didn't get enough credit really for that. They all played really well. So yeah, I've got no issues with that. Michael Keane's looking great at the moment, isn't he? Yeah, that goal in midweek will help him. I think I actually feel like for him, being the only one that played in midweek will help him as well, because I feel like he needs that confidence boost. And I imagine Ancelotti would have said to him, it's going to be a young change back 4. I need you to hold this together and sort of spin it as a positive. And I feel like that really benefits Michael Keane for me.
Yeah, you kind of think if he got left out, even if it was just like general rotation, he would have taken it a little bit personally. I thought, what have I done wrong here? He does seem a bit fragile in that way, doesn't he? Like I say,
and we've got no other centre-backs, yeah.
I know, the goal will have done him good as well. Like, it's there's been, it seems odd that Gibson hasn't sort of didn't feature in the week. He put Dean on, didn't he? At centre-back. So, as you say, if there was an injury, and it's going to be Mina. If there's an injury, it's going to be Yerry Mina, isn't it? In the back 4. You think Luca Dean would fit in there. Wouldn't be ideal, but
against West Brom, you should be able to. You'd like to think you can cope, wouldn't you? But there's still lingering talk about Tomori, isn't there, as well? And you'd imagine they'd be absolutely desperate to get that one over the line now. Albeit there's talk about him going to Rennes in France, because
apparently
Chelsea signed the goalkeeper Mendy. So that one feels like it's a bit of a way off yet, but. Yeah, I think I think Luca Dean as well. It's good to see him getting an assist the weekend. I thought he played dead well. I think somebody again whose performances post-lockdown were overlooked a little bit just because of the chaos in the rest of the team and how poor results were. He actually was really consistent and set a few goals up, did pretty well. So I'm happy with him. It's hard doing these shows, isn't it? When you just know what the team's going to be. They all played dead well. Let's just keep them all on the team. It's going to be fine.
And there's nothing to moan about, really. But I have found something to moan about. Mike Dean's the referee.
Oh, really?
Yes. The VAR is Simon Hooper.
I've got no beef.
Jeremy Simpson.
I've got no beef with any of them, I don't think. Yeah,
we might have at 3:00 tomorrow afternoon. Mike Dean, though, just in case anyone's in any doubt how awful he is for us, he couldn't referee us for years because he lived in Wirral and he's clearly a copite, although he reckons he supports Tranmere.
It takes a lot for me and you to not like someone from the Wirral, mate, given we all stick together from the peninsula, to be fair. But Mike Dean's got to be up there, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's refereed 7 matches, and we haven't won any.
He's done a load of derbies, hasn't he?
He has done
3 derbies.
Done 3 derbies, yeah. It was
I think one was the Mane one.
One was the Mane one, yeah. There was the 5-2 and the 0-0 at home this season.
Okay. Yeah.
He's also 3-2 defeat at Old Trafford, 1-1 draw at Wigan, and a 0-0 draw at Middlesbrough when there were no bookings and no red cards. That sounds an absolute thriller. in 2016.
It feels to me like Middlesbrough are just a team we perpetually draw 0-0 against forever and ever.
Yeah.
We can't have played Middlesbrough and it have been any other score than 0-0 ever in our history.
Yeah, you feel like that's 2 teams who just turn up and tolerate each other. It's like, we've got to do this, so let's just get it out the way.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, hopefully they don't come up ever again. Just stay away. It's a horrible away trip, that as well.
I've never been up there.
Yeah, it's not.
I can't imagine it's much fun.
Not pleasant at all. Just rattle through some of the comments. We'll come to Lockie's a little bit later on. Alan Catterall said, I was most excited this week by Reed praising Alan. I think we're going to love this lad. We spoke about that, didn't we? Make a little bit on the weekly, wasn't it, on Tuesday? Sort of those comparisons with those two. I mean, obviously dead premature, but this is the week to get carried away, isn't it? As we've established.
Reed knows a midfielder when he sees one, doesn't he? I think it just says a lot though about what we've been missing in that midfield, a player like that. I think we mentioned on the weekly as well when Mike put that tweet up, where Sigurdsson was sort of standing off Tottenham player as he sort of edging his way into the box, and Alan just tears over, kicks the ball out, and right, there you go, that's job done.
Do you know what? That's one of those things in the game where if you're analysing the game and you watch that back and Alan doesn't come over and Sigurdsson's there, you're not necessarily having a go at Sigurdsson because he's quite tight to his man.
Yeah,
he's ready to stop the cross. But I suppose it's just it's when you realise the difference in a player who is just a bit more aware and a bit more aggressive in that situation, and the contrast between the two of them in that situation is completely different. Alan is just a natural ball winner, and if he senses the opportunity to win the ball, he's going to go and do it. Whereas someone like Sigurdsson in that position is probably a bit more happy to just stand off him, not get beat for pace. And I think it was just that was a really interesting little clip that I thought.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, there wasn't much wrong with what Sigurdsson was doing apart from the part of the pitch that he was doing it in. Yeah. Because if a player's getting that close to your area, he's either going to run at you then because you're in the box, or he's going to be able to get a decent cross in. So it was kind of sort of typical Sigurdsson not really committing to doing anything, just sort of looking like he might be doing enough.
Yeah. And I suppose
the sort of thing Schneidlin used to do, to be honest.
Yeah.
Same thing.
If you're a fan on the ground there, mate, as well, what are you shouting at Sigurdsson when he's in that position? Don't dive in. Stay on your feet. And that's what he did, to be fair. But, I think that's where Alan's going to be really good. If there's those situations where one of our other players stands someone up and, he's trying to get a cross in, he's just going to come across and just sweep up after things, win the ball back. So, yeah, he was dead impressive. I think it was impressive in a different way to what I thought he would be as well, because, I think he's somebody who I thought was going to be, charging around the pitch and, carrying us forward and, a bit more box to box. But he was quite disciplined, actually, at the base of that midfield at the weekend. It wasn't all just about, charging after the ball and winning it. His positioning was great. He shielded the defence really well. So encouraging in that sense, because I think one of the fears about him is that maybe his legs aren't quite what they used to be, but he's clearly got that nous as well in his head, just being in the right sort of place at the right time.
And he kept his head under a little bit of provocation as well, because they were leaving putting some bad tackles in at the weekend. I think Højbjerg in particular sort of stood on his Achilles just as he was passing the ball. I think the worry for me was, it was horrible. And you sort of think with a player like in that position, it's easy for them to lose the head and just go flying into the next tackle, and he didn't. He kept the lid on it and stayed on all game, which is always a bonus, isn't it? But he does look like exactly what we need in the middle of the park. Bear with me one sec, okay?
Sorry, I'll run through some of these comments while Les disposes of his cat. Diego Nieto said 3-1 the score. Everton to win, of course. Two fears said, I don't think we'll see Gordon on the bench, and the only change you can see is Iwobi on the bench instead of Walcott. Not sure on that one. We'll get Les' thoughts on that when he gets back. Dave Mack has said, I don't care if it's a scruffy 1-0. Every Prem game is tough. We have a habit of going over the top with crazy 5-0 predictions when we have a good win. Start the same 11 and let's go Toffees. Jay Pattis, just short and sweet, said we should win. Fair dues. Andrew Howard, keep up the good work. This stuff is a lifesaver living in Chicago. Oh, cheers, mate. Really appreciate that. And he said, who is the one to watch for West Brom for you? Got Les is back now. Who would you say for them? That Pereira's always looked like their most dangerous player when I've seen them.
Yeah, as you said, I think the two wingers aren't they? The Grady Diagana, is it? Yeah. And Pereira. I think they're the two danger men. Although they still got Charlie Austin, haven't they?
I think so. Yeah, he was crying on the bench last year, wasn't he? At the end of the season, when it looked like they weren't going to come up because they bottled it, didn't they, a little bit?
Yeah, we'll have 25 shots on target. They'll have one. Charlie Austin scores the winner. There's my prediction.
Nah.
Not really.
Les is joking there. Have you got any more comments? Keep them coming in. Davis said Mike Dean is a shockingly bad ref. He'll probably give us a red card at some point. And Jay Pat has said Alan will probably be more effective going forward with more games under his belt and also in games against poorer teams. Just one comment there, Les, that Dave Mack made. It was Tufi who said, I don't think we'll see Gordon on the bench, and the only change I can see is Iwobi on the bench instead of Walcott. I mean, I think that would be extremely harsh on Anthony Gordon, given the way in which he played on Wednesday. And I have to say, if we're going to change one of those attacking midfield positions late in the game, if it's 0-0 or God forbid we're 1-0 down and we're trying to get back into the game, then he'd probably be the first one to turn to at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. You look at that performance he put in the other night, and he was just. I'm not into heat maps. I'm not that kind of guy. But I looked at his heat map. And
this was a podcast, mate. That'd be the title. Not into heat maps.
But his heat map was totally sort of down that side of the pitch, all attacking. I think did he hit the woodwork twice?
Yeah.
And he just ran them ragged, with relative ease, won the penalty. He did more than enough to get on the bench, and I'd be very disappointed if he didn't. As you say, he's the sort of player who you want to turn to. Now, we don't want to be looking back towards Walcott and that, do we? Now we want to be, using players, of that caliber at that age who we brought to ourselves. He's a very exciting player to watch, and he did do enough the other night to get a spot on the bench this week.
Yeah. Totally agree, mate. Just a couple more comments before we go. Rob Vera, hello, Rob, has said Les is looking hunky in that form-fitting Chang throwback home shirt.
Hunky?
Yeah, I know.
Rob, give us your number, lad.
No comments about me, though, mate, no. And finally, just to finish off, Lockie has said, are you guys worried about the lack of outgoing rumours? The quicker we get some out, we may be able to get some other quality players in. I suppose that's just a bit of a long-term problem, hasn't it, mate, in that regard? There's a lot of lads there that we want to shift out the door, but I think Rob himself has always said, there's not a queue of other clubs, to take our bad players off us on the wages they're on, so it's going to be hard. Yeah,
it is going to be difficult. It's sort of... I think we're just going to have to accept that half of them are just going to have to run down the contract and leave on a free. Yeah. Because, teams aren't going to come and pay good money for bad players. Obviously, unless you're Liverpool, and then you can get 10 million for any old shite. But that's another matter. quickly run through the match predictions before we go?
One more, mate.
Go ahead, sorry.
Two for you said, how did you dispose of the cat?
Oh, didn't dispose of him. We just put him out like, start of the Flintstones. We just lash him on the doorstep. That was it. There was no cat disposal went on there. No animals were harmed in the chucking out of my cat.
Brilliant.
Predictions.
Oh, okay.
Mike
people in the comments, give us yours as well.
Yeah, go ahead, yeah. Mike Diasha, I said 2-0 Toffees with a Z. Seems quite futuristic.
Not sure on that.
Laura said 2-0 to the Toffees. Rob Vera said 3-1 Toffs. Mark Mosey 1-0 the lads. Big Rich.
Oh, that's negative.
Downey, it is for Mark, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Dave Downey 4-1 Carlos Lemoheads. Don't know what he means by that. Adam Sutton.
It was just so bitter.
That's what it is, yeah. Adam Sutton 2-0. Jerry Mina. Paddy Boylan. Now, if you've got any, if you are into putting a bet on at the weekend, I think this is the one you should do. 8-0 to the Hummel hard cases, says Paddy. He's the closest we've got to win the no, so.
There we go. Yeah, he must be looking great in training, mustn't he?
Definitely, yeah.
Even Paddy's going for that. Yeah. I mean, that's the sort of analysis you subscribe to The Athletic for, isn't it? To be honest.
Well, exactly. That's why they get my money.
8-0 to the Hummel hard. What was it? The Hummel hard cases?
Hummel hard cases, yeah.
Love that.
What are you going to say then, mate? What's your prediction?
I'll just quickly rattle through some of the ones we're getting on YouTube. Jay has said 2-1 to Everton. Dave Mack has said Koeman and Walsh will give Les's cat a 5-year deal on £50 a week. Andy Howard has said 3-0 with James' home debut goal. Lockie has said 3-0. Richie 2 and Don 1. John Caballero 2-0. James and Richie with the goals. I reckon it's going to be. I can see us maybe scoring early, then finding it a bit difficult for a bit, and then us sort of taking the game away from them a little bit later on as they push on. So I reckon it's going to be 2 or 3 now. I'll go 3-0. We're going to go Dom first goal, Richarlison on the break, plus 2-0 up, and then Moise Keane to add a bit of gloss coming on as a late sub.
Penalty. I didn't like that run-off. Although we slotted that it was a goal penalty, those run-offs just give me palpitations. Yeah,
I mean, imagine them doing that in front of a full competition. The park end, they'd lose it, wouldn't they?
Yeah, no one would actually celebrate the penalty in the park end. They'd be too busy moaning on it for the run-up. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with 3-0 as well. It's a bit less likely, I think, purely because they lost 3-0 last week. But I think we have got the quality to sort of stick 3 past them, and I'd like to think we could keep them out. If Pickford plays anything like he did last week, should be sound on that score. And yeah, I think I'm going to go 3 goal scorers as well. I reckon Calvert-Lewin to open it, Charleston to get the second, and James Rodriguez to get the third.
So nice. Very similar to mine.
Pretty much, yeah.
Do you know what, this morning when we were speaking about this, actually I thought that I'm going to say Decore is going to score, but I totally forgot. So...
You want to lash him in? I mean, no one listens. No one takes a word of what we say here.
No one listens. I'll swap Dom for the core.
Oh, Jack's just put on the group 3-0. The Duke FGD.
I don't know what that means.
No, I don't either. It's got to be 3-0. Another 3-0 anyway.
Yeah. There we go.
That'll do nicely. That's all for this week's What's the Score then?
Yeah, wonderful stuff.
Jobs are good.
Just for people who are watching this on YouTube, do actually click. I know we say this and people probably just ignore it, but if you do click the subscribe button and like it, it does really help us in getting more people involved in these videos and that sort of thing. So if you haven't subscribed already, as you look at your screen, there's a little button in the bottom right-hand corner. It's of our logo. Just click that and you subscribed. Give it a like if you like it. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down.
We get the odd thumbs down.
We do get the odd thumbs down. Yeah, it does happen. But do subscribe, do tell your mates and all that. We've got loads on Blue Room Extra this week. We've got loads coming up next week as well. Dave Downey's starting a couple of new shows, and we've got mailbag tomorrow, mate, as well.
We have got mailbag tomorrow, just before the West Brom game. Yeah, I'm recording at 11:15 tomorrow, so should be finished in time for kick-off.
Good stuff. Yeah, fingers crossed. Anyway, mate, good day for the Toffees. Thanks very much to everyone for watching this, and we'll catch you again soon here on